In life, wisdom is not only about what we add, it is also about what we remove. One of the most common habits that quietly disturbs a person's peace is the habit of constant comparison. In today's world, it is very easy to look at other people and measure your life against theirs. You see someone who appears more successful, someone who seems more confident, someone who seems to have achieved things faster than you. Slowly, without realizing it, your mind begins to question your own progress. Smart and thoughtful people understand that comparison rarely leads to clarity. Instead, it often creates unnecessary pressure and dissatisfaction. Every individual has a different background, a different journey, different opportunities, and different challenges. Because of this, comparing two lives as if they follow the same path is not fair to yourself. When a person constantly compares their life with others, they start ignoring their own growth. They forget to notice the small improvements they have made. They overlook the effort they have invested in learning new skills, developing patience, or improving their mindset. The focus shifts away from progress and moves toward competition with people whose situations may be completely different. Wise individuals slowly train their minds to step away from this habit. They remind themselves that life is not a race where everyone starts at the same point and finishes at the same time. Instead, life is more like a personal journey where each person moves at their own pace. A person who focuses on personal growth begins to look inward rather than outward. Instead of asking, "Why is someone else ahead of me?" they begin to ask more useful questions. They might ask, "What can I improve today?" Or, "What lesson can I learn from my current situation?" These questions shift the mind from frustration to progress. Another important change happens when comparison is removed. Your attention becomes clearer. Energy that was once spent worrying about other people's achievements can now be used to build your own skills and habits. This creates a healthier and more stable mindset. Personal growth is often quiet and gradual. It may not always be visible to others, but it creates strong foundations over time. Reading regularly, learning from mistakes, improving discipline, and developing patience are all forms of growth that do not always receive immediate attention from the outside world. However, these changes shape a stronger character and a more balanced life. Smart people understand that improvement is best measured by looking at your own past. Instead of comparing themselves with someone else's success, they compare today's version of themselves with who they were yesterday, last month, or last year. This perspective allows them to see genuine progress. For example, a person might notice that they are more focused than before, more patient in difficult situations, or more confident when making decisions. These changes may seem small at first, but they represent meaningful development. Another benefit of removing comparison is that it encourages appreciation. When you stop measuring your life against someone else's achievements, it becomes easier to recognize the value of what you already have. This does not mean ignoring ambition or stopping the desire to improve. Instead, it creates a balanced mindset where gratitude and progress can exist together. When a person practices this mindset regularly, their confidence grows naturally. They are no longer distracted by the idea that someone else is ahead or behind. Their attention stays on their own path, their own goals, and their own learning process. Over time, this approach creates stability and focus. Personal growth becomes the priority, and each day becomes an opportunity to improve in small but meaningful ways. By removing the habit of comparison, smart individuals create space for patience, clarity, and steady progress in their lives. The people around us have a strong influence on the way we think, feel, and behave. Human beings naturally absorb the emotional atmosphere of their environment. Because of this, the quality of the relationships in your life can quietly shape your mindset, your confidence, and even the direction of your decisions. Smart and thoughtful individuals pay close attention to the type of energy they allow into their daily life. They understand that not every relationship supports growth or peace. Some connections slowly bring stress, negativity, or emotional exhaustion. These relationships may involve constant criticism, unnecessary conflict, or behavior that makes a person feel discouraged about their goals and abilities. Removing or creating distance from such relationships does not mean becoming cold or disrespectful. Instead, it means protecting your mental balance and emotional well-being. A calm and focused mind requires an environment where encouragement, respect, and understanding are present. Sometimes negative relationships develop gradually. At first, the behavior may seem small or temporary, but over time, certain patterns become clear. For example, some people repeatedly create arguments, spread negativity, or dismiss the efforts and progress of others. Being around this kind of influence regularly can slowly affect a person's confidence and motivation. Wise individuals notice these patterns carefully. Instead of reacting with anger or drama, they respond with awareness. They begin to limit how much time and emotional energy they invest in situations that bring constant stress. This is not about judging others harshly. It is about recognizing what is healthy for your own mind and life. Another important aspect of healthy relationships is mutual respect. Supportive people celebrate your growth, even if they are on a different path. They may offer advice or honest feedback, but they do not try to control your choices or discourage your ambitions. Their presence adds calmness and clarity rather than confusion. In contrast, relationships that lack respect often create pressure and emotional fatigue. When someone repeatedly dismisses your goals, spreads negativity, or encourages unhealthy habits, the impact can accumulate over time. Even if these actions are not always intentional, the result can still affect your peace of mind. Smart people understand that time and energy are valuable resources. Just as they choose carefully how they spend their time, they also choose carefully who they share that time with. By surrounding themselves with people who communicate respectfully and think constructively, they create an environment that supports stability and progress. Setting boundaries becomes an important skill in this process. Boundaries are simply clear limits that protect your mental and emotional space. They allow you to maintain respect for others while also maintaining respect for yourself. For example, a person might decide to avoid conversations that constantly revolve around negativity, or they may limit how often they engage with situations that cause repeated stress. This approach does not require confrontation in every case. Often, quiet adjustments in time, attention, and communication are enough to create healthier distance. The goal is not to remove people out of anger, but to maintain balance and clarity in daily life. At the same time, wise individuals continue to appreciate and strengthen the relationships that bring positivity. Friends, family members, or mentors who offer encouragement and understanding are valuable parts of a healthy life. Their presence creates support during challenges and adds meaning to shared experiences. When a person protects their environment in this way, their mind becomes calmer and more focused. Without constant negativity or conflict draining their energy, they are able to think more clearly and pursue their goals with greater stability. Over time, the overall atmosphere of their life becomes more balanced, allowing personal growth, patience, and thoughtful decision making to develop naturally. Many people spend a large part of their lives trying to gain approval from others. It often begins in small ways. A person may adjust their opinions, choices, or behavior simply to receive praise or to avoid criticism. While it is natural to appreciate encouragement from others, depending too heavily on approval can slowly weaken a person's sense of self. Smart and thoughtful individuals recognize that approval from others can be unpredictable. Different people have different expectations, values, and perspectives. What one person appreciates, another may question or disagree with. Because of this, building your life around constant validation can create confusion and pressure. When someone becomes focused on pleasing everyone, their decisions may no longer reflect their own beliefs or goals. Instead of asking what is right or meaningful for them, they may begin asking what will make others satisfied. Over time, this habit can make it difficult to develop confidence in one's own judgment. Wise individuals gradually learn to separate healthy feedback from the constant search for validation. Feedback can be helpful when it comes from people who genuinely want to support improvement. It can provide new perspectives, highlight areas that need development, and encourage thoughtful reflection. However, the need for approval is different from receiving useful feedback. Approval often becomes an emotional requirement rather than a helpful source of guidance. Another challenge with constantly seeking approval is that it places your emotional stability in the hands of others. If someone praises your work or agrees with your choices, you may feel confident. But if they disagree or criticize you, your confidence may quickly disappear. This creates an unstable foundation because your sense of self becomes dependent on opinions that you cannot control. Smart people work to build their confidence on something more stable. They focus on values such as honesty, responsibility, patience, and personal effort. When decisions are guided by these principles, a person develops a clearer sense of direction. Even if others disagree at times, the individual still understands the reasons behind their actions. Another important step is learning to become comfortable with respectful disagreement. It is not possible for everyone to think the same way or support every decision you make. Differences in opinion are a natural part of life. Wise individuals accept this reality instead of trying to manage every reaction from others. Letting go of the constant need for approval also encourages personal responsibility. When a person makes choices based on thoughtful reflection rather than social pressure, they become more aware of the outcomes of their decisions. This awareness strengthens maturity and encourages continuous learning. For example, someone who is building a career, developing a new skill, or pursuing a meaningful goal may face mixed reactions from others. Some people may support the effort, while others may question it. If the person focuses only on external approval, they may abandon their efforts too quickly. However, when the focus remains on personal values and long-term growth, the individual can continue moving forward with patience and clarity. Another benefit of this mindset is emotional balance. When a person no longer feels pressured to gain approval from everyone around them, they experience less anxiety and tension in daily interactions. Conversations become more genuine because they are no longer driven by the need to impress or satisfy others. Over time, this approach encourages authenticity. A person begins to express their thoughts and goals more honestly, while still remaining respectful toward others. Instead of adjusting their identity to fit every situation, they remain consistent with their values and intentions. Smart individuals understand that respect from others often develops naturally when a person lives with integrity and sincerity. Rather than chasing approval, they focus on acting responsibly, improving their abilities, and maintaining clarity in their decisions. This steady approach allows confidence to grow from within rather than relying entirely on the opinions of others. The human mind is deeply influenced by the thoughts and messages it receives every day. Conversations, media, and daily experiences all shape the way a person views life. Because of this, constant exposure to negativity can slowly affect a person's outlook, motivation, and emotional balance. Smart and thoughtful individuals understand the importance of protecting their minds from an environment that is filled with unnecessary negativity. Negativity often appears in many forms. It may come through repeated complaining, constant criticism, or a habit of focusing only on problems while ignoring possible solutions. When a person is surrounded by this type of thinking for long periods of time, it can gradually influence their mindset. Even someone who originally had a positive and balanced perspective may begin to see situations with unnecessary doubt or frustration. Wise individuals pay attention to how certain conversations and environments make them feel. If a particular space or group regularly encourages negative thinking, they begin to limit their exposure to it. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that problems do not exist. Challenges are a natural part of life, and they require thoughtful attention. The difference is that smart people prefer to focus on constructive thinking rather than remaining trapped in constant complaint. A constructive mindset encourages reflection and problem solving. Instead of asking why everything is difficult, a person may ask, what can be learned from the situation? This shift in thinking allows the mind to remain calm and focused even when facing challenges. When negativity is reduced, the mind has more room for creativity, patience, and clear decision making. Another important aspect of protecting the mind is being aware of the information that is consumed daily. News, social media, and entertainment can sometimes present an overwhelming amount of stressful or discouraging content. When a person continuously absorbs this type of material without balance, it can create a sense of constant tension or worry. Smart individuals manage their attention carefully and choose information that supports learning and growth rather than fear or frustration. The language people use in daily conversations also has a strong impact on mental well-being. Words carry emotional weight, and repeated negative expressions can reinforce negative thinking patterns. For example, constantly describing situations as hopeless or unfair can gradually influence how the brain processes experiences. Thoughtful individuals try to speak in a way that acknowledges difficulties while still leaving space for improvement and learning. Spending time with people who communicate in a balanced and respectful manner can also support a healthier mindset. Positive environments encourage discussions about solutions, ideas, and personal development. These conversations do not ignore challenges, but they approach them with calmness and responsibility rather than negativity. Another useful habit is developing moments of quiet reflection. Taking time to pause and observe one's thoughts allows a person to notice patterns in their thinking. If certain thoughts consistently create frustration or discouragement, awareness makes it easier to replace them with more constructive perspectives. Over time, this practice helps strengthen emotional control and mental clarity. Gratitude is another helpful way to maintain balance. Recognizing small positive aspects of daily life can gradually shift attention away from constant dissatisfaction. This does not mean ignoring goals or challenges. It simply creates a more stable emotional foundation while working toward improvement. Smart individuals understand that the mind is like a space that must be maintained carefully. Just as a physical environment benefits from cleanliness and organization, the mind benefits from thoughtful input and calm reflection. By reducing unnecessary negativity and encouraging balanced thinking, a person creates conditions where focus, patience, and emotional stability can grow naturally. Time is one of the most valuable resources in human life. Unlike many other things, time cannot be stored, repeated, or recovered once it has passed. Because of this, the way a person spends their time often determines the direction of their growth, productivity, and overall life experience. Smart and thoughtful individuals understand this reality and become careful about how they use their attention each day. In modern life, distractions are everywhere. Technology, constant notifications, endless streams of content, and many small interruptions compete for attention throughout the day. While some of these things may offer entertainment or short moments of relaxation, excessive distraction can slowly reduce a person's ability to focus on meaningful activities. When attention is constantly shifting from one small stimulus to another, the mind rarely enters a state of deep concentration. Tasks take longer to complete, and important goals may remain unfinished. Over time, this scattered attention can create frustration because a person may feel busy but not truly productive. Smart individuals recognize this pattern and begin to examine how their time is being used. They notice how certain habits quietly consume large portions of the day without offering meaningful value in return. For example, repeatedly checking a phone, switching between multiple tasks without finishing them, or spending long periods on activities that do not support personal goals can gradually reduce productivity. This awareness encourages people to make small adjustments in their daily routines. Instead of allowing every distraction to interrupt their focus, they create moments where they can concentrate fully on one task at a time. Even short periods of focused attention can significantly improve the quality of work and learning. Another important aspect of reducing distractions is creating an environment that supports concentration. A calm and organized workspace often helps the mind remain clear and focused. Removing unnecessary noise, limiting interruptions, and setting specific times for certain activities can create a structure that protects valuable time. Smart people also develop the habit of setting priorities. Not every task carries the same importance, and understanding which activities deserve the most attention allows a person to use their energy wisely. By identifying meaningful goals, individuals can direct their time toward actions that contribute to long-term growth rather than temporary distractions. At the same time, balance remains important. Removing unnecessary distractions does not mean eliminating all forms of relaxation or enjoyment. Rest and recreation are healthy parts of life when they are experienced with awareness and moderation. The key difference is that smart individuals choose these moments intentionally instead of allowing them to take control of their schedule. Planning daily activities can also support better time management. When a person begins the day with a simple idea of what they want to accomplish, their mind naturally becomes more focused. Clear intentions reduce the chances of drifting into random activities that consume time without clear purpose. Another benefit of reducing distractions is improved mental clarity. When the mind is not constantly switching between multiple sources of stimulation, it becomes easier to think deeply and make thoughtful decisions. Creativity, problem solving, and learning often improve when attention is directed toward one meaningful task at a time. Over time, these small adjustments create noticeable changes in productivity and personal growth. Tasks that once felt overwhelming become easier to manage because they receive proper attention. Goals that once seemed distant gradually become achievable through consistent effort. Smart individuals understand that time and attention shape the quality of life. By reducing unnecessary distractions and protecting their focus, they create space for meaningful work, learning, and personal development. This careful use of time allows steady progress and a more balanced daily experience. As we reflect on these ideas, one truth becomes clear: a peaceful and focused life is not built only by adding more things, more goals, or more responsibilities. Very often, real growth begins when we decide to remove what quietly weakens our mind and drains our energy. Smart people understand that life becomes clearer when unnecessary burdens are released. When comparison is reduced, the mind becomes calmer and more focused on personal progress. When unhealthy relationships are managed with awareness, emotional energy is protected. When the constant need for approval fades, confidence begins to grow from within rather than from outside opinions. The same is true when negativity is limited and the mind is guided toward constructive thinking. A balanced mindset allows a person to face challenges with patience instead of frustration. And when unnecessary distractions are reduced, time becomes more meaningful, allowing deeper focus on learning, improvement, and purposeful work. These changes may appear small at first. They are often quiet decisions made in daily life rather than dramatic transformations. Yet over time, these choices shape a stronger character and a clearer direction. The mind becomes lighter, decisions become wiser, and daily life begins to feel more stable. A thoughtful person does not try to control everything around them. Instead, they learn to manage their attention, their environment, and their habits. By doing so, they create space for patience, discipline, and steady growth. So, as you move forward, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Consider what supports your progress and what quietly distracts you from it. Sometimes the most meaningful improvement does not come from adding more effort, but from removing the habits, thoughts, or influences that no longer serve a positive purpose. When unnecessary weight is removed, clarity naturally appears. And with clarity comes the ability to move through life with greater focus, balance, and understanding.